Senator Inhofe and I have discussed the lesser prairie chicken on several occasions. I understand that citizens of Oklahoma and Oklahoma businesses have questions and concerns regarding a potential Endangered Species Act listing for this species. I'm committed, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is committed to keeping the public informed about all of our efforts in this regard, and I really look forward to the discussion this evening and listening to you and hopefully learning a thing or two at today's meeting. In Oklahoma and the other 4 states where the lesser prairie chicken is found, the service is working to develop candidate conservation agreements and candidate conservation agreements with assurances. And these are important tools that will be available to the landowners, the businesses, the developers in Oklahoma to allow you to continue your activity on the landscape and get assurances from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service regarding the lesser prairie chicken. A candidate conservation agreement with assurances, or a CCAA, is completely voluntary on your part. And it provides you as a landowner or developer with an opportunity to implement best conservation practices on your land or as part of your development. And in return for implementing those those voluntary best conservation practices, you receive assurances from the Fish and Wildlife Service. And that assurance is if the species is to be listed, that you would be able to continue to manage your land, your development, and we would not ask you for any additional requirements. So the basic concept is a deal, that we enter into a voluntary agreement with the landowner. In return, you essentially get an insurance that if we do list the species, then what you are doing and what you have agreed to do is enough, and we won't ask you for any additional or put any additional requirements on you as a landowner. We're working, as we speak, we're in the process of working with Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation to develop a candidate conservation agreement with assurances for Oklahoma. This agreement will cover normal farming and ranching practices, and again, will provide those assurances to cooperating landowners that they can continue to manage their land as outlined in the agreements with no additional requirements should the lesser prairie chicken be listed under the Endangered Species Act. We expect to complete that agreement in the fall. So again, working through that CCAA framework, landowners can get some certainty that the Fish and Wildlife Service won't be back for another bite at the apple if the species is listed. We use this framework throughout the country, in the southeast, the southwest, the northwest, the west in California and Nevada and places like that. We have used this framework with great success in working with private landowners. I don't want to mislead folks into thinking that signing these agreements will guarantee that the species is not listed. The law requires the service in the end to make a listing decision based solely on the best available science and consider the range of threats to the species. But what those agreements will do is both help the chicken, which is in the end what we're all after, and provide assurances to the participating landowners that listing won't impose any additional requirements or restrictions. There are many good examples of partnership-based conservation efforts for the lesser prairie chicken and other species. I commend the businesses, landowners, and federal agencies such as the Natural Resources Conservation Service, the state of Oklahoma, for stepping up to assist with this important conservation challenge. But and I'm sure there will be questions about the process of listing the prairie chicken, and I'd be happy to respond to those questions if you have them. But really, I came here to hear from you, and I want to spend the rest of the time listening to your comments, suggestions, concerns, and hopefully answering questions that you may have about this process and the potential consequence of this process. Again, I really want to thank you for inviting me here, Secretary Scher. Thank you, Senator Inhofe, for the opportunity to come here and speak with you and listen to you and hopefully learn a few things forward. And I hope this will be emblematic of the type of communication that we're committed to and the kind of dialogue that we're committed to in the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to work with citizens. I think it's a record that we can show that we have implemented in other parts of the country. I know a number of you are from the ranching community, and I would say I think I'm particularly proud of the relationship that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has with the ranching community. And I have been in the Rocky Mountain front of Montana, in the Flint Hills, in Kansas, in the Everglades headwaters, in Florida, north of Lake Okeechobee, working with particularly the ranching community, and the conservation of working landscapes goes hand in hand with wildlife conservation. And so where we can align ourselves with the ranching community in particular, I think we have an excellent record of wildlife, fisheries and wildlife conservation and partnership with the landowning community. So with that, I'll say again, thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I look forward to a dialogue with you.